Hello and welcome. Thank you for attending the Basics of Professional Liability Insurance. I'm your host, Chuck Sherkwith, Director of Sales at Therapy Sites, and with me is Andrea Camp, Sales Manager at Therapy Sites. Here at Therapy Sites, we specialize in building and designing websites and online marketing solution specifically for therapists and coaches, ultimately helping you acquire new patients. I'd like to personally welcome each and every one of you to this free educational event. We're really excited to be here with you today and welcome our guest speaker, Sarah Holiona, a marketing coordinator in CPH and Associates. She has worked with CPH for 4 years and has experience in both underwriting and claims. I can't wait to hear her speak. I think this is going to be a really great webinar on a very interesting topic. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So during today's session, we'll have a Q&A at the end, and we'd love for you to participate. So if you take a look at your GoToWebinar control panel, on there, a little bit of technical difficulties, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. Thank you for attending the Basics of Professional Liability Insurance. I'm your host, Chuck Sherkwith, Director of Sales at Therapy Sites, and with me is Andrea Camp, Sales Manager at Therapy Sites. Here at Therapy Sites, we specialize in building and designing websites and online marketing solutions, specifically for therapists and coaches, ultimately helping therapists and coaches acquire new patients. I'd like to personally welcome each and every one of you to this free educational event. I can't wait to hear Sarah speak. Our guest speaker today is going to be Sarah Holiona, a marketing coordinator in CPH and Associates. She has worked with CPH for 4 years and has experience in both underwriting and claims. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So during today's session, we'll have a Q&A at the end, and we'd love for you to participate. So if you look at your GoToWebinar control panel, on there you'll see a questions tab. Feel free to use this tab to answer any questions, ask any of your own, and make any comments that you would have. After the webinar has been concluded, we do have a quick survey. We'd love for you to get your feedback. And also, just to let everyone know, everyone that is registered for this event will receive a copy of this recorded email to them. So now that we have that taken care of, let's meet our presenter, Sarah Holiona. Take it away, Sarah.
Thanks, Chuck. Hi, everyone. This is Sarah at CPH. Thank you so much for joining our session today. The purpose of the session is just to help you understand a little bit more about malpractice insurance and how it works to protect your career. So we just want to get you a little more familiar with your professional liability policy and the coverage benefits that are available to you. So we're going to break down standard policy coverage, go through some claim scenarios, and maybe answer some of your questions. So to start off, just a little bit about CPH and Associates. We are a professional liability insurance agency that is based in Chicago. We do specialize in professional liability insurance specifically for allied and mental health professionals, and we're currently insuring over 100,000 people in this field. Our insurance carrier is Philadelphia Indemnity Insurance Company, and we have partnered with Therapy Sites for a few years, so you'll often see Therapy Sites in our monthly emails that go out, and we do offer a Therapy Sites special website offer for everyone who applies with us. So at CPH, we prioritize customer service and improving our technology to make sure that your customer experience is as easy and simple as possible when you're signing up for coverage, making policy changes, or filing a claim. So we're going to start off with the very basic, what is professional liability insurance? So you might have heard this referred to as malpractice insurance or errors and omissions coverage. Essentially, professional liability insurance is coverage for the services that you are providing. So the policy defines professional liability as coverage for sums that you become legally obligated to pay as damages because of a professional incident. And a professional incident is defined as an actual or alleged negligent act, error, or omission in the actual rendering of professional services. So your professional liability policy covers you for lawsuits or claims that are brought against you for your services. These are three coverages that should be found in most professional liability insurance policies. With CPH, these are automatically included in our standard policy. This would be your professional liability insurance, your state licensing board investigation defense coverage, and subpoena and deposition expense coverage. So these three coverages are what we believe are most important in protecting mental health providers and the issues that you might face in your career. So when you're looking for coverage, whether you have it with CPH or with another insurance company, you'll want to make sure that these three coverages are included. At CPH, we offer different sets of limits for coverage. So the standard or pretty standard limit would be 1 million per occurrence and 3 million aggregate. This means the policy would pay up to $1 million per claim or lawsuit. And then if you have multiple claims in 1 year, the policy would pay a maximum of $3 million. We also offer the option to increase the aggregate limit to $5 million. And in certain states, such as Minnesota, Virginia, and Oregon, we have options to increase this per their state requirements. Some people might have a requirement to increase limits based on a lease or contract. So we do offer that option as well. But most people will go with the 1 million per occurrence and 3 million aggregate because it's pretty widely accepted by most employers and credentialing companies. Your professional liability insurance policy with CPH includes unlimited legal defense. So this means that the legal fees and court costs involving claims or suits that are covered by the policy will be paid on your behalf and will not reduce the limits of liability that we saw in the previous slide. So not only will the policy pay for a settlement, but it'll also pay for the legal fees and expenses to defend you. So in a claim, you'll have a separate amount for legal defense and for the settlement. At CPH, our professional liability insurance is occurrence coverage. Occurrence coverage is lifetime coverage for the policy period. So if is a claim or suit brought against you, as long as you were insured at the time of the incident or treatment that resulted in the claim or suit, this policy will still apply. With professional liability policies, there are two kinds of coverages available. At CPH, we only offer occurrence coverage, but you might also have the option with other insurance companies to have a claims-made policy. So with the claims-made policy, the policy only covers you for claims that are reported while the policy is active. And once your policy ends, you'll be required to purchase a tail policy to give you a few extra years of reporting time. So at CPH, we do believe occurrence coverage is best because you don't have to worry about purchasing a tail at the end. Our professional liability insurance is portable coverage, so it follows you wherever you can legally provide services within the United States. So you're not just limited to your office or your employer's practice, but the policy will follow you wherever your license allows you to practice. So we're often asked if the policy covers walk and talk therapy, going to clients' homes, or meeting in a park. So as long as your license allows you to practice in that way, the policy will follow you there. And portability also extends to covering licenses in multiple states. So you don't need separate policies for each state where you're licensed. It'll cover you wherever you can practice in the US. Our professional liability insurance also automatically covers telehealth services. So if you are practicing via telehealth and you are legally allowed to practice in that way, the policy will cover those services. We do recommend contacting your state licensing board where you and your clients are located, just to ensure that you are allowed to practice there. So as long as state law allows you to practice, the policy will cover the services. So in the standard policy, we offer state licensing board defense coverage. So this pays for up to $35,000 per year for legal expenses to defend you in a civil investigation or licensing board disciplinary proceeding from the rendering of professional services. We also offer options to increase to $75,000 or $100,000 for an additional premium. So this coverage is our most common type of claim. We are far more likely to see a board complaint than a lawsuit from our policyholders, just because it is easier for someone to, in certain states, log into the state portal and file a complaint than to file a lawsuit. So you'll really want to make sure that you have this coverage on your policy. If you have a policy with CPH, you'll have that coverage. If you have it elsewhere, you'll just want to double check to make sure that this is included. Next, we have our deposition and subpoena expense coverage. And this pays for up to $10,000 per deposition for legal fees and expenses that you incur for appearance at a deposition related to counseling performed. So this would be a situation where you might receive a subpoena to produce records or to provide testimony. There's not a claim or allegation being made against you or your services, but you might be asked to support a client in their lawsuit, or divorce, or custody case. So this coverage is here to provide an attorney to assist you and advise you on what information you should or should not provide. And just to circle back, the most common types of claims we see are the state licensing board investigation defense coverage and deposition and subpoena expense coverage claims. We briefly wanted to go through some of the additional coverage benefits that are included in the CPH standard policy. It's not often that we see claims for these coverages, but it's just important to go over them so you're aware that they are on the policy. First is our supplemental liability coverage. This is coverage for bodily injury or property damage that occurs during the session or that results from professional services. The limits for this coverage match your professional liability limits. So if you chose professional liability limits of $1 million per occurrence and $3 million aggregate, that would be the same limit for your supplemental liability. And as a note, this is not general liability insurance for an office, which we will get into a little bit later. Next, we have our medical expense coverage, and that pays for ongoing medical expenses for an accidental injury arising out of your professional services. The policy also includes first aid coverage, and this pays for expenses that you incur for voluntarily rendering first aid as a result of a bodily injury. We also offer assault coverage, and this is one of our more specific coverages. It pays for expenses that you incur as a result of bodily injury to you or damage to your personal property resulting from an assault upon you while traveling to or from your place of employment. And we offer defendant's reimbursements coverage. So this pays for actual loss of earnings when you assist in the investigation or defense of a claim or suit in which you are named a defendant. So this coverage will likely always accompany a professional liability claim. Just to repeat, these are coverages that are included in a professional liability policy with CPH, and you don't need to request to add these. Finally, we have our most used policy benefit, and that would be our avoiding liability helpline. So at CPH, we offer to our policyholders up to 2 hours per year of consultation with a malpractice attorney. And this would be for questions that relate to a situation with the client. And the purpose would be to reduce your liability in a situation that, if it isn't handled properly, could potentially lead to a claim or complaint against your license. So For example, people will call us to ask questions about confidentiality, child abuse reporting requirements, requests for records, some risky or dangerous patients, or potential dual relationships or conflicts of interest. So if you want to set up an appointment with us, you would just call our office, provide a brief summary of the situation and your questions, and we'll ask for your availability for the next few business days, and we'll contact the attorney to set up an appointment. So it's usually done either the same day or within a few business days. The appointments are set up in half-hour blocks, and you can always call us to set up more time if you go over that amount. And so just to summarize, these are the coverages that are included in the standard professional liability policy with CPH. If you have a policy with another insurance company, you'll want to check with them to find out about the supplemental coverages available. So at CPH, you can choose to apply for either individual coverage or business coverage. So if you don't have a business, you would apply for an individual policy that just covers you, the individual provider. If you have a business entity, so an LLC or corporation, you can purchase a corporate policy that would cover your business, you as the owner and any of your partners, your W-2 employees, volunteers, and students who are providing services for the business. So some questions we get asked about corporate coverage often come from people with just a one-person business with no employees and it's just themselves. So why does a one-person business need to apply for corporate coverage? And would an individual policy cover your business if you're the sole owner? So we recommend business entity coverage if you have an LLC or corporation, because it's possible for both you and your business to be named in a lawsuit. An individual policy would not be able to provide any coverage for your business, whereas the corporate policy would cover both you and the business. If I have a business entity policy, do I also need a separate individual policy? The answer is no. So the business policy will cover you as a provider, and you don't need to take out a separate policy to cover yourself. Will having corporate coverage change my premium? So yes, corporate coverage is rated differently than an individual policy. And so we'll jump into the rates on the next slide. Our individual policy rates are based on your license and your level of licensure. So these are the rates for most occupations in our mental health field. So counselors, therapists, social workers, behavior therapists. If you are at the intern or associate level, so you are graduated and working under supervision, but not yet fully licensed, the premium would be about $90 for the year. If you are fully licensed and a W-2 employee, the rate would be $115 for the year. If you're an independent contractor who's fully licensed, the rate would range from $115 to $320, just based on the number of hours that you're working per week. For a business entity policy, the rates are determined by the number of people in the business. So on each application and at your renewal, we'll ask you to provide a staff list. So the premium can change year to year depending on the number of people. So these rates are, if you have students, it's $15 per person, interns and associates, $90, W-2 employees who are licensed would be $115, and owners would be $320. And again, these are rates that are for most of our mental health occupations at the 1 million per occurrence and 3 million aggregate limits. If you have a business entity policy, the policy will provide blanket coverage for all of your W-2 employees, so both clinical and administrative. So employees don't need to carry separate individual policies unless they're doing some type of individual work outside of your company. So as I mentioned before, on your application, we'll ask you for a staff list, and that's how we determine the premium for the year. If you make staff changes throughout the year, so you hire a new employee about 2 months after you apply, you don't have to notify us until your next renewal, when we'll ask you for another staff list and calculate the premium again. So your employees will automatically be covered when they join your company and automatically lose coverage when they leave. If you have contractors who are providing services for the business, they should maintain their own separate individual coverage. Your business policy will include vicarious coverage for the contractor's services. So if there's a lawsuit where both the contractor and the business are named, the contractor's policy would cover the contractor, and your business would be covered by your business policy because the services were provided on behalf of the business. Now we're going to go through some of the optional coverages that we offer. So you can add these coverages to the policy, and you'll often see them as requirements in a lease or a contract. The first optional coverage would be additional insureds. So this would be secondary coverage for a landlord, a property manager, employer, agency that you're working with, or a supervisor, if they ask to be added to your policy. So it doesn't give any coverage benefit to you to add an additional insured. It only gives coverage to that entity that you're adding. So we recommend only adding this if it's required in a lease or a contract. This is a pretty common requirement. The cost to add additional insureds are 10% of the professional liability premium, but landlords are free. We offer general liability, which is slip and fall coverage. So if you have an office that you rent or lease, you can add general liability to cover you if someone gets injured at the office and holds you liable for the injury. This is another common requirement that you might see in a lease. So at CPH, we offer limits of $1 million per occurrence and $3 million aggregate. This also includes $250,000 of fire and water legal liability. The premium to add this coverage is $182 if you have one location and $60 for each additional location. If you have general liability, you have the option to add business personal property coverage. And this is coverage for loss or damage to the contents of your office. So things like your desk or a computer. We offer this coverage at a $15,000 limit with a $500 deductible. The premium to add this coverage is $150. Unfortunately, we do not offer this coverage in Florida, but it is available in all other states. And you must have general liability in order to add this property coverage to your policy. If you have both general liability and property coverage, then you have the option to add our business income and extra expense coverage. And this covers loss of income sustained due to necessary suspension of your practice caused by direct physical loss or damage to your office building. And you can see the specific covered causes of loss are here. So as an example, this could be a situation where there's a fire in the office building that you work in, and your landlord has to shut down the building for repair, and you're not able to work because you're not able to access the building. The policy would pay for the income loss during that time. We offer this coverage at a $250,000 limit, and the premium is $50. And as a note, we did get this question a lot during the beginning of the pandemic. Unfortunately, this does not cover shutting down the practice due to COVID or infectious disease. The cause of loss must be physical damage. Cyber liability is one of our newer coverages that we started offering. This is coverage against a data breach of your client's information. So if you store electronic health records on your computer or server, this would cover you in the event that someone maybe hacks into your server or your computer and accesses your client information. So typically with these claims, we'll see someone reports a cyber breach, um, a law firm will be hired to investigate the nature of the breach and find out who was affected. And they will help you determine if you're required to notify anyone or any regulatory bodies and help you send out the notices. We don't offer this coverage in Alaska, North Dakota, and New Mexico. We have 3 levels of coverage. So for most states, or all states except for New York, we offer a $15,000 limit or a $25,000 limit. In New York, we offer only one level of coverage, which is $100,000. If you have a business policy, you have the option to add our hired and non-owned auto coverage. And this would protect your business for liability resulting from an employee's use of their own vehicle for a business purpose. So this would be coverage if you have employees who are driving their own cars, and maybe someone is driving to the bank to make a deposit and gets into an accident and causes damage, and someone holds you liable and your business liable because you employ that person. So the limit of coverage we offer would be $100,000. The premium is $80 if you have up to 10 people. If you have more than 10, it'll be $8 per additional employee. As a note, if you transport clients as part of your business, we are not able to offer this coverage. And finally, we offer vicarious sexual abuse and molestation coverage. So this is coverage if you are held liable for another person's abusive conduct. So that could be negligent supervision, reporting, or employment. This coverage you would typically only add if you have employees or supervisees, and you are held vicariously liable for their misconduct. So the limit we offer is $1 million. This is one of our more expensive coverages. The rate is $300 if there is one person in the business, and then $50 for each additional person after that. We wanted to mention some of the exclusions in the professional liability policy, just to make you aware of some things that professional liability insurance does not cover. So that includes billing-related issues, contractual liability, employment-related issues, intentional wrongful acts, workers' compensation, disability benefits, unemployment compensation, criminal, dishonest, fraudulent, or malicious acts or omissions, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or licentious, immoral, or sexual behavior. So some of these coverages you might be able to get the coverage elsewhere. So things like workers' comp or employment practices liability. It's just we just wanted to go through these just so you can see a professional liability insurance policy is just meant to cover the services that you're providing. There is a note on the physical and sexual abuse exclusion. At CPH, physical and sexual abuse claims are excluded, but the policy includes a duty to defend you against an allegation in a civil suit. So the policy will pay for your legal defense up until you are found guilty or admit guilt. If you're accused of abuse, the policy will provide your legal defense in a civil suit, but any coverage would end if there were an admission of guilt. The policy can't pay any damages in a claim or suit stemming from allegations of abuse. All right, and now we're going to go through the typical claims process. So you can see how to activate your coverage if you receive some type of notice of legal action. So how it usually works is once you receive notice of a board complaint, lawsuit, or subpoena, you'll report the claim to CPH, and we'll report that to your insurance carrier, who will assign a claims examiner to verify coverage and assign your attorney. Your duty as an insured is to promptly notify us in writing of a professional incident that may lead to a claim, and you must also provide prompt notification in the event of a claim or suit. It's important to let us know as soon as you receive notice so we can start the claims process. At CPH, you'll file a claim either online in your customer portal, or you can submit the manual form by email or fax. You can see the two forms that we have. The one on the left is the initial incident report that you'll use for most claims. It'll ask you for contact information, a brief description of the incident, and dates of treatment. On the right is our subpoena notification claim form, and this you'll use just for subpoena claims. So it'll ask for the same contact information when you receive the subpoena and when you treated the client. So along with these forms, you can provide any supporting documents that you receive from the court or the board, and you'll submit that to CPH. So once we receive your claim form, we'll send that claim form and all of your policy documents to the insurance carrier, which is Philadelphia. All claims are expedited and sent to the carrier the same business day, and the carrier will assign a claims examiner who will contact you within 2 to 3 business days. Our insurance carrier has several claims examiners who are dedicated to our professional liability insurance program, and they are experienced in dealing with mental health malpractice claims. So the claims examiner will verify the coverage based on the allegations filed and the dates of treatment. And once coverage is verified, the claims examiner will select your attorney based on the venue. Now we're going to walk through some real claim situations that a few of our policyholders have faced to see how their policy worked to provide coverage. This first scenario involves a board complaint that's brought against an individual policyholder who is a licensed clinical social worker. The board complaint was filed by a non-custodial parent of a minor client. The court has been denying the non-custodial parent the clinical records for 2 years, and the insured was named in a board complaint alleging general unprofessional misconduct and failure to disclose information. A note from our claims department is that about 30% of our board complaints are some version of the story. A lot of our board complaints involve custody disputes. So how did the policy work to cover it? Well, the coverage comes from the State Licensing Board Investigation Defense coverage. This policyholder chose the $35,000 limit. So an attorney was assigned to assist the insured with their response to the board. The board reviewed the response written by the attorney and the insured, and the matter was dismissed without any disciplinary action. The total defense costs were $6,500. So you can see in this case, it is beneficial to have this State Licensing Board Investigation Defense coverage, even in a case where it's decided that this person ultimately did nothing wrong, but the legal fees still add up. This next scenario is a board complaint and a lawsuit. So this is a claim that's brought against a business policy. The owner is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and they have 5 employees with various mental health licenses. In this scenario, the wife of a client filed a lawsuit and a board complaint accusing an employee of having an ongoing sexual relationship with her husband. The board complaint was brought against the owner, alleging negligent supervision, and the lawsuit names the owner, the employee, and the business, alleging emotional damages and negligent supervision of an employee, and they're seeking monetary compensation for the employee's actions. The owner ended up having coverage for both the lawsuit and the board complaint because the dates of treatment of the client fell within the policy period. The employee did not receive defense coverage in the suit because it was admitted sexual misconduct. The owner has in writing the admission of the sexual relationship from the employee, so therefore the defense coverage was denied for the employee. Ultimately, the board complaint defense cost $17,000. The lawsuit is ongoing, so the defense costs are currently at $30,000, but expected to increase. And the settlement has not yet been decided, but it is estimated to be about $80,000. This next scenario involves a lawsuit brought against a business policy with the owner who is a licensed professional counselor. In this situation, the owner saw a 45-year-old client for severe depression. The client was previously hospitalized for suicide attempts and was seen for 30 sessions prior to completing suicide. The client's wife filed a lawsuit against the insured, the client's psychiatrist, and the hospital where the client was previously a patient. This suit alleged generalized unprofessional misconduct and not referring to a higher level of care. The client was a high earner, and the wife was seeking significant monetary damage for emotional distress, pain, and suffering. Since all dates of the treatment fell under the policy period, coverage was activated. So this comes under the defense costs, which are unlimited, and the professional liability limit of $1 million for a settlement. The payout was $195,000 for the settlement and $135,000 for the defense. In situations where multiple parties are named, so in this case, the insured, the psychiatrist, and the hospital, the insurance companies of all of these parties will work together to find the percentage of fault. In this case, the total agreed payout was $650,000, and our insured's portion was 30% of that, so $195,000. A note from our claims department is that the initial demand was for $2,250,000. Cases like this will go back and forth for a long time until an agreement is made, so this is considered a pretty good outcome for our insured. Finally, we have a cyber claim. This is for an individual policyholder who is a marriage and family therapist. This policyholder discovered that she was unable to get into her therapy appointment program that contained her patient's private mental health data, and she discovered that some files were also deleted. Her IT department traced this to her ex-boyfriend, who is an IT specialist. She reported this claim to CPH, and luckily she had the $15,000 of cyber liability coverage. So in this case, a law firm that specialized in cybersecurity and privacy data analyzed the data file, identified the number of patients that were affected, and determined whether notification is required. And they also assisted her with drafting and mailing notices. So she was required to notify the Department of Health and Human Services and the 320 patients that were affected. And the payout was $9,908.17. Okay, and now we're going to jump into some FAQs. So people will often call to ask us about our policies. Does this policy cover supervising interns and associates? The answer is yes. So if you are legally allowed to supervise with your license or certification, the policy will automatically cover the supervision services. Is there a deductible? So all of the coverages that we offer, with the exception of our business personal property coverage, there is no deductible. The business personal property coverage, that is the only coverage that has a deductible, and that is $500. But everything else is no deductible. Do we offer discounts? We do. We have a few. One that's not listed is our online discount. So if you are applying online, you'll automatically receive a 5% discount in the application. If you have taken a course in law or ethics in the past 24 months, we offer a 10% risk management discount. And if you've become newly licensed in the past year or 2 years, we offer discounts for that. We also get asked about occurrence versus claims made coverage. So we touched on this before, but CPH offers occurrence coverage, which is lifetime coverage for claims that occur during the policy period. So an occurrence policy will cover you regardless of when the claim is reported. It only matters when the incident or treatment occurred. So as long as you provided the incident or treatment that resulted in the claim while the policy was in force, you'll still have coverage in the future. If instead you have a claims-made policy, this only covers you for incidents that occurred during the policy period and were reported while the policy was in force. So at CPH, we believe occurrence coverage provides better coverage for practitioners because it is lifetime coverage. Can I choose the attorney who will work on my claim? So our insurance carrier has a network of attorneys that they work with, and they usually assign to claims. If you have a specific attorney that you would prefer to work with, you can make a request, and your claims adjuster will review the request. It's not guaranteed, but I have seen them. They are able to sometimes grant that request. Can the policy cover additional occupations and licenses? Yes. So if you have another occupation or license or certification in the mental health field, you don't need to take out a separate policy for this. You can get it covered on just one policy. So as long as it's an occupation that CPH insures in this program, you can add it to the policy. And so we'll take a look. This is just a small list of the occupations that we insure, and you can visit our website to see the full list. All right, and finally, people ask why CPH. So we like to emphasize three things that we provide to our policyholders. First off, we're committed to providing superior customer service. So we like to make it very easy to get in touch with us by phone, email, or online. When you call our office, you'll be connected to a live representative immediately. We don't have phone menus. We have actual real humans answering the phones. So you'll be connected to someone within 2 rings. We also prioritize our technology. So we're continuously updating and improving our website to make access to policies as quick and easy as possible. So we have a very easy to use online application that provides instant quotes. And once you become a policyholder, you receive a customer portal where you have 24/7 access to your policy documents and the ability to make real-time changes. And finally, the biggest advantage that we offer to our policyholders is our avoiding liability resource, which is that attorney helpline. And again, that's 2 hours per year of consultation with a malpractice attorney who can assist you with ethical or legal questions. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're at info@cphins.com. Our office number is here. We are open today, so if you have any questions right now, you can give us a call. And our website is down below. And I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for joining the session. And I hope I answered some of your questions about malpractice insurance. And now I'm going to turn it over to Chuck.
Perfect.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'm in turn going to turn it over to Andrea.
Sarah, thank you so much. What a great presentation. You shared so much valuable information about malpractice insurance, really in order to run a successful practice in today's environment. At Therapy Sites, we work with mental health professionals to help them create professional looking websites and ensure they can be found online where and when their clients are searching in order to help increase new client acquisition. We encourage the practices we work with to build a website that's a reflection of themselves, but also to help them create a marketing strategy that allows them to achieve their goals. Our solutions make it easy to schedule appointments online, create a network of referrals via social media, and even the ability to interact with clients from virtually anywhere with our telehealth platform. As a special thank you for being here today, we are extending a special webinar offer for 2 free months of telecounseling and SEO services. So if you would like to learn more about Therapy Sites and see how we can help attract more new clients to your practice, send us a quick email at webinar@therapysites.com, or feel free to give us a call at 866-255-8745. So we did have a couple of questions that came in. Looks like we have just a few minutes. Sarah, would you mind answering a handful of questions that we had through the session?
Sure, of course.
Awesome. So one of the questions that we got was, does CPH offer policies to peer support specialists?
Let me check.
Okay.
I believe I have seen that come in before.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. And then if in the meantime, while you're looking that up, if you'd like me to ask the next one, obviously, as we talk about websites and telehealth and being able to visit with clients virtually anywhere, does CPH cover telehealth services as well?
Yes, so telehealth services are covered by the policy, just by the standard policy. You don't need to add anything additional to be covered for telehealth.
All right, perfect. And then let's see, do I need a business policy if I only have an LLC and no employees?
Yes, so we would recommend if you have a business, even if you are just a single person business and no employees, the business policy would be the appropriate coverage to cover both you and the business.
Perfect, perfect. Let's see, a couple more. Do I need to give CPH the address of where I'm practicing?
No, so we just ask for the mailing address, so that can be your home, or if you want to use your business address or your place of employment, you can. But the coverage itself is portable, so it follows you wherever you can legally practice, and you don't need to list your practice locations.
Okay, perfect. And how soon can I get coverage?
You can apply for same day coverage. So if you apply today, you can get your policy document sent to you today, or you can set the effective date into the future.
Awesome, awesome. I know you're still looking for that answer. I think that about covers, let me just double check the chat and the questions box here one more time just to make sure I covered everything. Last question came in. Would you please repeat the discounts?
Yes. Okay. So we offer a 5% online discount just for applying online. Next, we offer a 10% risk management discount, which is a discount if you have taken a course in law or ethics in the past 24 months. And then we also offer a newly licensed discount for those who've become newly licensed in the past year or 2 years. So if it's been within the past 12 months, you'll receive a 50% discount. And if it's been within the past 24 months, it'll be a 25% discount.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that about wraps up, Chuck, unless you saw any other questions. I think that about covers all the questions that we had that had come through the chat and the questions box.
Yeah, that was great. I appreciate everything, Sarah. It was nice to have you on as a guest speaker today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. As I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, for those that did take the time to jump on, I appreciate it. And everyone who did register, you will receive a recorded copy of this, and that'll be sent to you know that you registered the event too. So other than that, let's have a great day and hope to talk to everyone soon. Thanks a lot.